Hey there, hockey fans. Nick Hart here, back again on the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins social media pages. We are coming to you live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all that fun stuff. We've been doing this a little bit since the Stanley Cup Playoffs resumed, but before we were doing Pittsburgh Penguins pregame shows. They were fun, they were informative, we had some great interviews. But unfortunately, what we didn't really plan for was the Pittsburgh Penguins bowing out in the qualifying round. But you know what? I still kept watching hockey naturally, watching all these games day after day, and I missed you guys. I missed you so much. We figured, you know what? Let's bring the show back and let's just talk about the playoffs. No, there are no Pittsburgh Penguins to chat about, but there still is plenty of hockey, exciting hockey, this Stanley Cup and the sights of 16 teams that did make it past the qualifying round to the official start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So instead of this being our early bird Penguins pregame show presented by Coors Light, we're switching it up here, bringing you all the news and information that you need from the NHL's hub cities of Toronto and Edmonton. This is Bubble Wrap, ladies and gentlemen, where we will be talking about all of the series, all of the action, all of the individual performers, all of the storylines, all the stuff that you need to know to keep up with the ongoing Stanley Cup playoffs as they continue to trudge on in their respective bubbles, the Eastern Conference in Toronto, the Western Conference in Edmonton. And if you're like me, you're watching all of these hockey games. So you know what? It's easy to keep up, but you know what? You want someone to talk about hockey, you want to hear about hockey. Maybe, there's so many games in the day that you can't watch all of them. Those late games, those 10 o'clock, 10:30 start times, you go into the night with every intention of watching the game, and then you nod off before the national anthem hits. We've all been there, ladies and gentlemen. So if you've been missing games or you haven't been keeping up since Pittsburgh got eliminated, that's why I'm here, folks. That's why I'm back with Bubble Wrap. So without further ado, let's jump right in and talk about the current landscape of these Stanley Cup playoffs. Here's what the bracket looks like right now. These are those aforementioned 16 teams that made it through the round robin and or qualifying round of the initial start of the Stanley Cup playoffs, made it through, and now we're done with the best of five, all that wacky stuff. These are the regular best of seven series that you're used to seeing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They've been constant all day from the afternoon into the wee hours of the night. So much hockey. There's no way you're going to bed feeling like you need more because you can just wake up the next day and do it all over again. 4 to 5 games a day, sometimes even more than 3 periods. We've become very accustomed to overtime with the way things have been going here in the Stanley Cup playoffs this first round. So let's talk about the teams that have been knocked out already, though, because as I mentioned, these series have been ongoing. And as recently as today, as recently as an hour ago, we have an elimination. The Tampa Bay Lightning are moving on. They have exorcised the demon of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Remember the Blue Jackets, the team that shocked the hockey world, taking out the President's Trophy winning Tampa Bay Lightning last year in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs? Well, not this time, but this was a razor-thin series right from the get-go when Game 1 went 5 overtimes deep, one of the longest games in NHL history. The Lightning got the win in that one. The Blue Jackets bounced back to tie things up 1-1. But after that, the Tampa Bay Lightning able to eke out narrow victories against the Blue Jackets. You see that 1-goal victories for the Lightning in games 3, 4, and 5, including an overtime victory for Tampa Bay earlier this afternoon. Braden Point, who scored the overtime game winner in that 5 overtime marathon, he had the magic again for the Tampa Bay Lightning, sending the Blue Jackets home and sending the Lightning onto the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Tampa Bay moving on with a comeback, I may add, down 2 goals in the third period to tie the game and then ultimately win the series. So unfortunately for Joonas Korpisalo and the Columbus Blue Jackets, who were winning over the hearts of many hockey fans all over again this playoffs, well, their season is over. And there was another elimination in the Western Conference, not today, but earlier in the week. The Chicago Blackhawks, who pulled off the upset of the Edmonton Oilers in the qualifying round, well, they could not pull off the upset against the number 1 seeded team in the Western Conference, the Vegas Golden Knights. dispatch of the Chicago Blackhawks. Once again, 4-1, the final series count in this one, but this was a game with ebbs and flows back and forth, just wild swings and momentum throughout this series. It was highly entertaining if you stayed up to watch these games. The Golden Knights took it to the Hawks in Game 1, but after that, you see the overtime game in Game 2, the Golden Knights pulling one out in Game 3, the Blackhawks staying alive in Game 4, and then Game 5. What a contest that one. Goal for goal, scoring chance after scoring chance, posts, broken goalie skates. This series packed a whole lot of action into just 5 games, but no surprises with the Vegas Golden Knights advancing. They look like the well-oiled machine that they were back in the regular season. They're a little bit healthier now for the postseason than they were back from, you think, December, February, March. They were getting a little banged up. Some of the trade deadline acquisitions that they made are really paying off right now, and the Vegas Golden Knights licking their chops, waiting to see who they'll take on in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. One team that's trying to avoid the fate of the Chicago Blackhawks and the Columbus Blue Jackets are the Carolina Hurricanes. They are taking on the Boston Bruins, facing elimination in Game 5 of that series right now. Right now, they should be dropping the puck in just a little bit here, but we'll be happy to entertain you in the meantime. In fact, that game start might have been delayed a hair with the Columbus Blue Jackets Tampa Bay Lightning game going to overtime. This has been a huge clash, this one. I expected this 4-5 matchup to be one of the more entertaining series in the first round. I was really looking forward to it. Now, you see Boston has the Hurricanes on the brink through 4 games, but these ones super close. Once again, more one-goal games, including a double overtime marathon in Game 1 with Patrice Bergeron pulling out the victory there for the Boston Bruins. The Hurricanes bouncing back in Game 2. Game 3, the Bruins get the W. And then Game 4, what a comeback by Boston, scoring 4 unanswered goals in the third period. A tough way to go down if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. Pardon me, it wasn't 4 unanswered. It was 4 in a row. The Hurricanes did get 1 goal with an empty net to try and tie things up, but it proved to be too little, too late for the Carolina Hurricanes. And now the Hurricane season is in jeopardy right now. The Carolina Hurricanes, like I said, don't want to befall the same fate as the Columbus Blue Jackets and Chicago Blackhawks, and they want to keep their Stanley Cup dreams alive and well. Another game happening later this afternoon. You swing out to the Western Conference. The Colorado Avalanche are going to try and take out the Arizona Coyotes on what NBC has been calling Elimination Wednesday. Tons of elimination games on the slate just today. Colorado leads this series 3-1, and where I said the other series were a little bit more closer in nature, this has not been the case. In fact, the Arizona Coyotes better be thanking their goaltender Darcy Kemper that they aren't done in 4 games. The Avalanche thrashed the Yotes in Game 1, a closer one in Game 2, but possession firmly on the side of Colorado. Game 3, the Coyotes played their best game and were rewarded for it as well. Darcy Kemper lending a huge hand, denying over 40 shots of the Colorado Avalanche in that Game 3. But then the Avs bounced back in a big way, 7-1. Downing the Coyotes in Game 4. It was not a pretty performance for the Coyotes. A gorgeous display of the potential that the Colorado Avalanche have as they're looking to advance in the playoffs and try and chase their franchise's 3rd Stanley Cup. In fact, former Pittsburgh Penguins player, Pittsburgh Penguins assistant coach, and current head coach of the Arizona Coyotes, Rick Tocchet, didn't mince his words after that Game 4 7-1 loss, saying, you know, it's weird with this whole bubble thing. You can tell who wants to be here and who wants to go home. In that game, we looked like we were ready to go home. We'll see if that message from Rick Tocchet gets through to his players and they prove that they are not ready to go home with that Game 5 contest. The Yotes facing elimination at 5:30 p.m. today on your NBC Sports family of networks. It is Elimination Wednesday, but yesterday one team was able to avoid elimination in comeback fashion. What a dramatic comeback for the Washington Capitals after losing the first 3 games of the series, down 3-0 at jeopardy of being swept by the New York Islanders. They were down 2-0 in the first 5 minutes of the game. But the Washington Capitals slowly chipped away at the stone. Alex Ovechkin shows up in the clutch, doing what the great players always do. 2 tallies from Ovi, including the game winner. The Washington Capitals are still alive in this one, but the New York Islanders have a chance to exact their revenge and advance ultimately, with Game 5 taking place tomorrow, August 20th. Another team looking to avoid elimination, this one happening later tonight. The Montreal Canadiens want to repeat what the Washington Capitals did and prevent the Philadelphia Flyers from moving forward here in these Stanley Cup playoffs. Philadelphia looked like a beast in the round robin. They looked like quite a formidable squad. They finished the regular season great, came into the bubble on fire, and they had a little bit of a hiccup with the Montreal Canadiens shutting out the Flyers 5-0. An ugly, ugly game for Philadelphia. And you know what? Their offense hasn't been firing on all cylinders against the Montreal Canadiens here. Now, some of that you, of course, have to credit to the great goaltending of Carey Price, as the Pittsburgh Penguins found out the hard way. But you see, the Flyers scored only 3 goals through the first 3 games, yet they led in the series. Game 4, they put in 2, but it's the fact that the Flyers and their goaltender, Carter Hart, have been locking things down against the Habs. Minus that 5-goal outburst in Game 2, Montreal has only managed 1 goal in the other 3 games. So this one, not exactly high-octane offense, once again, if you subtract that explosive Game 2 from Montreal, but the Flyers finding a way to get things done, and that might be a little bit dangerous for the rest of the teams in the NHL. The Flyers with tons of youthful exuberance and skill. Sometimes those are the teams that play a little bit too loosey-goosey in the playoffs, and then ultimately their offense can't keep up with perhaps a lack of defense whenever the game gets difficult in the playoffs. But we see the Flyers winning these close, tight games, these low-scoring games, if their offense can wake up, especially given the way they played in the round robin and towards the end of the regular season. This could be a team poised for a very deep run. But as I said, the Montreal Canadiens trying to stay alive, keep their season alive, pull off another upset for a second round in a row, downing another Keystone State squad. They did it to the Pittsburgh Penguins back in the qualifiers. Down 3-1. They need to win 3 in a row against Philadelphia. They'll have their first stab at doing so tonight at 8 p.m. Now let's move back out to the Western Conference, where we may have our best chance at a 7-game series. This one has been high-scoring, high-octane to the max. My goodness, no lead is safe, whether it's 1 goal or multiple goals, when it comes to the Dallas Stars versus the Calgary Flames. A back-and-forth, anything you can do, I can do better kind of series. Dallas currently leads 3-2 after rattling off a just jaw-dropping overtime victory in Game 4 and then eking one out in Game 5 against the Calgary Flames. But the Flames goaltender Cam Talbot has been playing perhaps the best hockey of his career. He's going to try and extend this one to 7 games when the Stars and Flames face off tomorrow in Game 6. The Dallas Stars were a team that struggled a bit in the round robin, but seem to be finding their groove now that the first round of the playoffs have begun. You could say the same thing about the St. Louis Blues. The defending Stanley Cup champions did not win a game in the round robin, and they also didn't win a game in their first 2 contests against the young and exciting Vancouver Canucks, but they were able to bounce back, win 2 in a row in games 3 and 4, and we have a tied series in this 4-5 matchup. These are the late games, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the games that always seem to be starting at 10:30 p.m. Trust me, if you haven't stayed up for St. Louis versus Vancouver yet, you got to make plans to do it, perhaps even starting tonight, because they have Game 5, a pivotal contest in this series taking place later tonight. These games have been so exciting. The Vancouver Canucks, an up-and-coming, hot and rising team that a lot of people are excited to watch, including myself. And the St. Louis Blues, after sort of missing their mojo early on here in the playoffs, they're starting to find that swagger that they had en route to winning their franchise's first Stanley Cup last year. That could be bad news for the Vancouver Canucks, but it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of that series plays out. Once again, 10:30 p.m. tonight, the Blues slated to take on the Vancouver Canucks with that series tied at 2 games apiece. Once again, let's take a look at the overall bracket again. We know the Vegas Golden Knights are moving on, and we know the Tampa Bay Lightning are moving on as well. They await the winners of, well, it's not really a true bracket this year because it was negotiated by the Players Association that they wanted reseeding as the playoffs go on. So the Vegas Golden Knights, they know that they'll play the lowest seeded team to advance. That could potentially be the Arizona Coyotes if they can stage a huge comeback against the Colorado Avalanche. Maybe the Vancouver Canucks if they can take care of business against the defending champs in the St. Louis Blues. It's a little bit of wait and see right now for both the Vegas Golden Knights, and same discussion happening in the East right now with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Columbus is out, Chicago is out. Every other team you see on there still alive. maybe hanging by a thread, but still technically alive, looking to win the Stanley Cup later this summer. Those are how all the teams have been performing so far in these playoffs. But now let's take a peek at some individual performers who are really thriving here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's look at some of the playoff leaders, guys that are leading in goals, points, even some great goaltenders this season. I mentioned before how great that Vancouver-St. Louis series has been. Bo Horvat with a huge coming out party in these playoffs. When he was drafted years ago, the Vancouver Canucks traded a goaltender, Corey Schneider, to get him in the first round. A lot of people criticized that move, saying he would never be anything more than a solid third-line center in the NHL. He's proving a lot of people wrong in these playoffs. This is the first time Horvat has even made the playoffs since his rookie season with the Canucks, and he is making the most of it. 6 goals, including some beauties for the Vancouver Canucks. When you come to the points leaders, you have Sebastian Aho of the Carolina Hurricanes leading the charge. Such an underrated player, underappreciated player. One of those top-line centers playing in a small market that just doesn't get the respect he deserves, no matter if he shows up in the regular season or the playoffs. More people should be talking about Sebastian Aho and his league-leading 11 points so far in the postseason, a testament to that. You see some players like Connor McDavid and Jonathan Toews with huge point totals, even though they've already been eliminated in these playoffs. Crazy to think McDavid, who didn't even make it to the first round, put up all those points in the qualifiers against Chicago, but his team is home watching the rest of these playoffs like the rest of us. Jake Allen had to watch the start of that playoff series against the Vancouver Canucks from the bench, but Jordan Binnington ends up getting the hook. Jake Allen goes in. He was coming off of statistically his best regular season ever, even though he lost the starting job to Binnington last year. Jake Allen, your save percentage leader with 3 games played, so not an extremely large sample size for Jake Allen in these playoffs, but he's been absolutely money for the Blues throughout the postseason, including 3 wins in those 3 games. Carter Hart playing fantastically in net for the Philadelphia Flyers as well. And, well, Joonas Korpisalo, you can now add him to the list of eliminated players among the playoff leaders, with he and the Columbus Blue Jackets bowing out earlier this afternoon. All of these stats, by the way, are from before the Tampa Bay Lightning took on the Columbus Blue Jackets earlier today. So maybe there was a little bit of moving and shaking in the overall goals and points, but those are still your leaders, even after those games. So Bo Horvat breaking out as the goal-scoring leader of the playoffs so far. Sebastian Aho, perhaps expectedly, proving that he is one of the most underrated players in the league. And Jake Allen, we could have another Cinderella goalie story in net for the St. Louis Blues this year, after it was Jordan Binnington seemingly coming out of nowhere, leading them to the Cup last year. Allen lost the starting job, might have it back. Once again, we'll have to see how the rest of that series against the Vancouver Canucks plays out. And when you talk about individuals in the playoffs, yes, hockey, of course, is the consummate team sport, but the playoffs also lead to legendary moments for individuals and legendary accolades. One of the greatest honors an individual can earn in the game of hockey is the Conn Smythe Trophy, annually awarded to the MVP, most valuable player of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And as you move on in the playoffs, people always love to look at, hey, who you think will win the Conn Smythe? Is it a little early to be talking Conn Smythe? Yeah, probably, but you know what? We're still going to do it anyway. So these are my Conn Smythe power rankings. We're going to revisit these throughout every episode of Bubble Wrap throughout the rest of the postseason, and we'll see how guys move up and down the scale. Here's our top 7 as it stands right now, with the reigning Conn Smythe winner, Ryan O'Reilly, leading the pack for me. He has 9 points for the St. Louis Blues this season to tie for the team lead in that category, but the top-line centerman of the Blues playing over a whopping 23 minutes per game. He leads all forwards in the playoffs in possession metrics. Corsi at 5-on-5, over 70%, while also going over 63% on his draws. When Ryan O'Reilly is on the ice, his team has the puck, the other team does not. And you can see by his offensive production that his team is putting the puck in the back of the net too. You want to talk about most valuable player? Ryan O'Reilly exemplifying that so far, especially with the turnaround St. Louis has had in their current series with Vancouver. You move down the list, you can't ignore Sebastian Aho with his playoff leading 11 points for the Carolina Hurricanes. Even though Bo Horvat leads the playoffs in goals, we're going to go third on our Conn Smythe rankings to Quinn Hughes, the rookie defenseman for the Vancouver Canucks, who's already stepping into a number 1 defenseman role, playing over 24 minutes a night, averaging an expected 5.65 goals per 60 minutes. That's an advanced metric coming to us from naturalstatric.com, where they sort of calculate at 5-on-5 the shots and scoring chances and the range of the shots coming when that player is on the ice. That's a great number. And, oh, yeah, by the way, 9 points in 8 games played. Quinn Hughes already with a record-setting point streak to start his postseason career in the NHL. No rookie defenseman had ever registered a point in each of his first 8 games before in the entirety of the National Hockey League. Victor Hedman, though, he's been around the block. He knows about playoff success, playoff failures, being a great regular season player. The former Norris Trophy winner has been battling through injury, but is still perhaps the most valuable player on the Tampa Bay Lightning in these playoffs. Only 3 points, but with Victor Hedman, it's not about the offense. It's about keeping the other team off the board, playing over 24 minutes a night despite playing through injury. Once again, you see his expected goals metric even higher than Quinn Hughes, and his possession numbers off the charts as well. When you talk Conn Smythe, you got to mention the goalies. Goalies are so key in the playoffs. It's a little bit too early and too small of a sample size to move these guys up the list further, but we're going right to that Philadelphia-Montreal series where Carter Hart, with back-to-back shutouts for the Philadelphia Flyers and that .958 save percentage, the second best among all goalies in the postseason, and a record of 5-1. Carey Price, on the other hand, a big reason why the Canadiens pulled off that upset against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first round, and why the Habs think they have a fighting chance still in that 3-1 series hole against the Philadelphia Flyers. His record 500 at 4-4, but you look at that 1.48 goals against average, that .949 save percentage to go along with 2 clean sheets, and you know that Carey Price probably isn't the problem in Montreal. He just needs some run support for that team to make a run at the Cup. And in 7th place, I'm putting Nazem Kadri in there. Nathan MacKinnon gets all the love, and understandably so, for the Colorado Avalanche. But Nazem Kadri, 9 points for the Avs so far. He leads all players in the Stanley Cup playoffs with 3 power play goals, 3 power play goals, and leads everyone in the Stanley Cup playoffs with 3 game-winning goals. Jonas Korpisalo was probably pretty high on this list too, but with his team getting eliminated in the first round, it's going to be kind of hard to make a case for a goaltender whose team didn't actually make it out of the first round, despite the fact that he set the NHL record for saves in a playoff game during that 5 overtime contest against Tampa Bay. Just tough luck for Jonas Korpisalo, but a breakout performance for that young goaltender who I'm not sure how many Blue Jackets fans are really missing Sergei Bobrovsky right now with the glut of talent that the Blue Jackets have with the likes of Korpisalo, Merzlikins, even Veini Vehviläinen and Matisse Kivlenieks in the pipeline as well. Things are going okay in Columbus, even though they now find themselves out of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mentioned before that the playoffs are times where you see guys really step up and make a moment for themselves. So here on Bubble Wrap, what we are going to do is every single week that we come to you live on the Penguin social media channels, we will be highlighting one particular performance that really stuck out to me as the best of the best, a jaw dropper, a dazzler. It's now time for our performance of the week, and that performance goes to Joe Pavelski of the Dallas Stars. That's right, Joe Pavelski, the longtime San Jose Shark. The Dallas Stars brought him in for his playoff performances, his leadership, and his ability to come through in the clutch, and that's exactly what he did in that Game 4 victory for the Stars on Sunday, August 16th. Scored a hat trick in that game, including the game-tying goal with 12.9 seconds left, sending the game to extra time, where ultimately the Stars won the game. They would have been in a 3-1 hole had they lost that one, but thanks to Joe Pavelski's hat trick, they survive, and now they have a 3-2 series lead. And you also look at his possession numbers, that 5-on-5 Corsi number, 75.7%. That means when Joe Pavelski was on the ice at 5-on-5, the Dallas Stars were generating the scoring chances 3/4 of the time. They had 3/4 of the possession versus their opponent. That is a dominating clutch performance. Joe Pavelski going straight out of 2016 on that one. Remember that when Pavelski was with the Sharks and they had to play the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Stanley Cup final? Pavelski ultimately scored more goals than anyone else in the playoffs, but the Pittsburgh Penguins went home with the real prize, the Stanley Cup, first of 2 back-to-back titles for the Pittsburgh Penguins here in the salary cup era, still the only team to do so. St. Louis Blues looking to repeat. The Dallas Stars looking for their first championship in 2 decades about. Yeah, that math seems to check out there. A lot of teams looking for their first title. Couple teams looking to just add to their hardware chest. It's going to be fun the rest of the run. So unfortunately, even though the Pittsburgh Penguins aren't in the running anymore this year after bowing out in the qualifying round and that stunning and certainly surprising loss to the Montreal Canadiens, we're still going to be bringing you all the action throughout the playoffs here with Bubble Wrap. Tons of recaps, tons of in-depth analysis of these series stats and whatnot. And for you Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins fans, you can still pick out some Wilkes-Barre Scranton alum that are still active in the postseason, despite the fact that Pittsburgh's out. Still see some guys across the league trying to grab the brass ring, get all the way to the top of the pinnacle. Of course, Marc-Andre Fleury, a favorite in Pittsburgh, a favorite here in Wilkes-Barre Scranton, one of the all-time good guys in the game of hockey. There's no doubt about that. He and the Vegas Golden Knights are still alive. Now, Robin Lehner is getting the bulk of the starts there in Vegas, but Marc-Andre Fleury, every time he's gotten a tap on his shoulder so far, and whether it be the round robin or even that series against the Chicago Blackhawks, he has stepped up and looked like the Marc-Andre Fleury of old. Other Wilkes-Barre Scranton alums still in the playoffs: Alex Goligoski for the Arizona Coyotes, Oscar Sundqvist still playing in a huge role for the defending Cup champs, the St. Louis Blues. Derek Grant only had a cup of coffee with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, but he was acquired by the Philadelphia Flyers as some roster depth, and he's been providing that depth and real charge to the bottom six of their roster so far in the playoffs with the Philadelphia Flyers. Other guys like Tom Kuhnackel with the Islanders, Daniel Sprong with the Caps, Gage Quinney with the Knights, Derek Pouliot with St. Louis, as is Robert Bortuzzo. Those guys on the rosters, they just haven't been playing so much, but they're still there. They're still in the bubble, so you might want to, maybe if a team gets a slew of injuries, don't be surprised if you see Tommy Knuckles or Spronger show up for a couple of those teams. There's still some Wilkes-Barre Scranton alum kicking around in the bubble as these games take place on NBC. And some fun news that we found out about really recently. You want to talk about Penguins on NBC? What about Penguins on American Ninja Warrior? Former Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins defenseman Barry Goers is going to be on American Ninja Warrior. Yes, you know that show that you've been watching when you've been putting off doing chores around the house or some yard work outside. All of those great feats of athleticism, just mind-boggling athletic stuff pulled off by some of these people. Barry Goers is going to be on American Ninja Warrior. You can check that out on Monday, September 7th. That's when the episode is going to air on NBC. B-Go-T on American Ninja Warrior. I can't tell you, folks, how excited I am. Barry Goers, a great guy, fantastic to talk to. Love to pick his brain on so many different things. Unfortunately, he was hit with a couple injuries that really slowed him down with Wilkes-Barre Scranton and the rest of his career. But whenever he was in, he was so good. And it's great to see that in his post-hockey career, he's going to be doing some more athletic stuff. And I cannot express to you how excited I am to check that out. I hope he, makes it to the top. I'm trying to remember. When the American Ninja Warrior first started, it was just about climbing that wall. You had to get up the warped wall. Now the obstacles are just out of this world ridiculous because so many people are running up the wall. I'm not sure if they're going to have them climbing spider webs or running around in gyro balls or something like that. But whatever it is, I'm excited. I'm pumped. Thrilled to see Barry Goers on American Ninja Warrior. Once again, that'll be Monday, September 7th. So still some time to program your DVR, ladies and gentlemen. American Ninja Warrior, Barry Goers, NBC. Some other fun stuff still going around with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins here. During the shutdown, we always have old Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins games, some retro contests, some fun games from Penguins past on From the Vault, happening throughout the week on the Penguins social media pages. Always check back to the Penguins Facebook page to see what game is coming up next. Also, those Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins masks still on sale, ladies and gentlemen. WBSpenguins.com. Go to the shop tab and you'll get those masks that you need to go around town, go anywhere, go in the shops, go out to eat. You know the drill. Go grocery shopping. Show your Penguins pride with those Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins masks. And that's, the updates that I can give you on what's going on with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. But before we conclude our first edition of Bubble Wrap presented by Coors Light, some of you out there might be asking yourselves, you know what? I love hockey. I love these games, but with the Penguins out, I don't really know who to root for. I have a hard time getting invested. So should I keep watching? Well, first of all, yes, absolutely keep watching. You're a hockey fan. You're going to love it. But if you're looking for a team to root for, I might be able to help you out. Because here on Bubble Wrap, we are going to give you the bandwagon rankings. Ladies and gentlemen, join the bandwagon. I am going to pitch to you some teams that you can cheer for now, a bandwagon for you to jump on, per se. really enjoy those games, invest in that team. Now, how do I determine this? Ultimately, part of it is, of course, personal opinion, but I'm going to be factoring things like how exciting is this team? What's the storyline for them? Do they have some sort of feel-good story happening right now that, would make it reasonable for me to throw my support behind them? Have they done anything bad or mean that would drag them down the list or something like that? Teams that are looking for their first cup, teams that are playing for a legacy, maybe one guy that's chasing that Stanley Cup that's always eluded him. All of them have been calculated into this very intricate formula in my brain. And now, without further ado, let's jump right into these bandwagon rankings. I'm going to give you a top 5 right now. I'm not going to run through all the teams left. I'll give you just a top 5 right now, starting with a team that punched their ticket to the second round earlier today. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to show up first here on the bandwagon in our 5 overall spot. So why should you cheer for the Tampa Bay Lightning? They're a team that has been so close, on the cusp of getting to hockey's ultimate prize a lot in the last few years. They have built a juggernaut down there in Florida with studly players like Nikita Kucherov, Steven Stamkos, Braden Point, Andre Palat. The list goes on and on and on. Andre Vasilevsky in net, and perennial Norris contender Victor Hedman on the back end. That team is built as well as any squad you will ever see. It always shows up that way in the regular season. But when it comes to the playoffs, they've gotten this reputation as a team that can't get the job done. The fact of the matter is, I think that's a little bit harsh for the Tampa Bay Lightning. You're talking about years of history with this team where it's just one funky thing going wrong, an offside challenge not going their way, and then they lose in the conference final. A weird bounce, disallowed goals, once again, just super strange things, injuries hitting at the wrong time mean that they don't get past it. They've made it to the conference final or even the Stanley Cup final, I think 5 times in the last 8 years. But it's that first round loss to Columbus last year when they were the President's Trophy winning team that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. Now they have this reputation as a team that can't get the job done. Now that they've exercised that demon and moved past the ghost of the Columbus Blue Jackets, look for this team to just rock it up. They are so talented, so talented. They had the most goals in the National Hockey League during the regular season, but they hit you in a number of different ways. They can hit you with skill up front. They can hit you with rough and tumble stuff in the back end. They can move the puck up ice quickly and efficiently. That'll make your eyes spin. And they can grind it out, too, up and down their lineup. Once again, you talk about being a well-constructed team. That's what the Tampa Bay Lightning are. So if you like to watch fun hockey, like to watch exciting hockey, and you like to watch skilled players do what they do best, Tampa Bay Lightning might be the team for you. And in that same vein, number 4 on our bandwagon rankings are the Colorado Avalanche. Now, a little bit younger. They haven't been around as long as the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're looking to win one playoff series in the Stanley Cup playoffs 2 years in a row for the first time in, I think, a decade it's been since the Avs have advanced in the playoffs 2 years in a row. Looking to pull that off against the Arizona Coyotes later today. But Nathan MacKinnon, speed at their number 1 center position. What a fantastic player to watch. So exciting, thrilling to see Nathan MacKinnon touch the puck. They have Cale Makar on the blue line as well, and up-and-coming young defenseman. You get the feeling him and Quinn Hughes out in Vancouver are going to have some fun battles out in the Western Conference for the best defenseman in the league, or maybe at least most exciting defenseman in the league for many more years to come. This is a team that is young. They are exciting, but they play such a well-versed brand of hockey that they are going, when they know they're good and when they're feeling it, they're not going to take their foot off the gas, and they are going to shove their game right down your throat. It's impressive to see them work like that. So not only are they young, not only are they a franchise that hasn't won a Stanley Cup in a while, but they're a team that has a real good shot of doing it this year. So if you like watching good teams, maybe the Colorado Avalanche bandwagon is for you. Let's stay on the Western Conference as we move up the bandwagon rankings to number 3, the Vancouver Canucks. And much of what I said before about the Colorado Avalanche applies to Vancouver double fold. Talk about young, they're even younger than Colorado. You want to talk about exciting? Boy, oh boy, they got a number of players that anytime they touch the puck, you hold your breath. I've mentioned what Quinn Hughes has been doing on the back end. Everyone taking note of what he can do as a defenseman now, producing it over a point-per-game pace in the playoffs so far, and his breakouts are, oh my. If you're someone who just likes to see goals and highlights in hockey games, that's fine. But if you want to watch a team exit the defensive zone and get into the attacking zone, whenever Quinn Hughes has the puck, it's almost automatic, and he does it in some really creative and ultimately efficient ways for the Vancouver Canucks. Guys like Bo Horvat stepping up in a big way on the grandest stage of them all. Elias Pettersson, Swedish youngster with a great shot, great hands, great playmaking ability. He's going to be one of the best players in the league, the future of this league, and Elias Pettersson. But, a guy like JT Miller, who's been around the block too, came close to winning a Stanley Cup with the New York Rangers, couldn't do it. Was on that Tampa Bay Lightning team last year that just fell short. Well, they did more than just fall short. They were surprisingly knocked out in the first round. Now JT Miller in a leadership role with the Vancouver Canucks. Talk about all the young talent on that team, like Horvat, Pettersson, Brock Besser, Quinn Hughes. JT Miller was the guy who led that team in points. So it's cool to see the growth of this team, whether it's the newcomers like Miller or these youngsters that might be the future of this league. The Vancouver Canucks are a team that might be arriving a little bit earlier than people thought they would in their rebuild too. Oh, God, they're fun to watch. Just so fun to watch, and that's why they're at number 3 on my bandwagon rankings. Who knows how far they can actually go, how much of a legitimate threat at the Stanley Cup they are right now, but they're a young team that believes in themselves, and nothing beats the electricity of youthful exuberance in the game of hockey, and Vancouver Canucks certainly personifying that so far. You want to talk about excitement, you want to talk about fun, let's go to number 2, the Carolina Hurricanes. Come on. This might be the most fun team in the National Hockey League. Their personalities off the ice, the storm surge that they like to do at the end of all their home games in front of their home fans. If the Carolina Hurricanes haven't won your heart yet, you must have a heart of stone because they're fun on the ice. They play such a fast-paced, hard-hitting, but also skillful style of offensive-minded hockey with some great puck-moving defensemen. Rod Brind'Amour, one of the greats in the game of hockey, a hard-nosed guy. Rod the Bod, standing behind the bench. The guys all love playing for him. And the fans in Carolina love the fact that he's behind the bench. Not only was he a legend for their team, but he's the kind of guy that you just want to go to battle for. You want to run through a wall when Rod the Bod's on your side. And we all know fans have had problems with the referees, whether it's the Penguins fan base, whether it's the Flyers fan base, the Rangers fan base, the Kings fan base. Nobody likes the referees. Rod Brind'Amour speaks for the people. He does not mince his words whenever he feels that the referees have not done their job, and he can prove that to the tune of the $25,000 fine that he accrued earlier in the playoffs for being justifiably upset with a call that didn't go the Hurricanes' way. So whether it's the personalities off the ice, their personality on the ice, or personality of their bench boss, this is a fun team, chock full of personality in a game that sometimes is lacking some colorful characters. So the Carolina Hurricanes up at number 2, trying to keep their season alive right now. The game with the Boston Bruins is ongoing, so we'll wrap things up for you folks. But first, we have to go to number 1 on our bandwagon rankings. And sometimes you just got to jump on the bandwagon of the best team going, the Vegas Golden Knights. Surprising everyone in their expansion season by becoming the Golden Misfits, is the moniker that they gave themselves. Everyone left that team for dead, thought they would finish dead last. Instead, they went to the Stanley Cup final. They won over the hearts of the city of Las Vegas. They've been slowly but surely winning over the rest of the hockey world. But it's not because of just the fun brand of hockey that they play, the amount of talent that they have on their roster. It's just the fact that they're so dang good. They are for real. That first season was no fluke, and they built around the pieces, the core that they constructed in that first season, and put even more talented players around them. Now, the Vegas Golden Knights may not have a bona fide number 1 defenseman that you look at like a Victor Hedman or even a breakout star like a Cale Makar or a Quinn Hughes on the back end, like some of the other players we talked about, but they are an extremely balanced team. Everyone knows what their job is, and ultimately, when they do their job, they win. They win a lot. They were a well-oiled machine in the regular season despite fighting through injuries. They were unstoppable in the round robin and lost only 1 game to the Chicago Blackhawks, and they looked mighty fine while doing so. The talent ceiling and potential of this Vegas Golden Knights squad, they very well might just win the Stanley Cup. So if you're looking for a bandwagon to jump on, go for them. They are number 1 in our bandwagon rankings. But, let's show you the whole scheme here. As the playoffs go on, we'll obviously be taking teams off the bandwagon rankings as they get eliminated. We had to do that to the Columbus Blue Jackets earlier this afternoon. They scored pretty high in the bandwagon earlier, but they're out. We'll see how teams move, ebb, and flow throughout these rankings throughout the playoffs. But once again, you have Vegas, Carolina, Vancouver, Colorado, and Tampa Bay in the top 5. Dallas just missing out on that top 5 at 6th. You have the New York Islanders in 7th, putting the Montreal Canadiens at 8th. I know some people might be bitter that they knocked out the Pittsburgh Penguins, but Carey Price, one of the all-time greats. You'd like to see him maybe finally win that Stanley Cup. The Washington Capitals trying to keep their season alive. Tons of exciting players on that team, despite the rivalry that they have, of course, with the Pittsburgh Penguins. If you have a chance to tune on to a hockey game and Ovi's on the ice, Evgeny Kuznetsov's on the ice, you're not going to have a bad time. The Boston Bruins trying to fight through some adversity with Tuukka Rask opting out of the bubble in the middle of their playoff run, but Yaroslav Halak, a plenty-capable backup. The Arizona Coyotes, they're on death's door. It just doesn't feel like they're going to get past that Colorado Avalanche squad. St. Louis Blues, hey, they had their time in the sun last year as Stanley Cup champions. Everyone was on that bandwagon last year. This year just doesn't feel the same. Calgary is a team that they have some young talent that, would move the needle when it comes to drawing ratings and things like that, but there's something about them that just isn't really grabbing on to me particularly. So they're down at 13th place, and then we root for a meteor to strike the earth, blow the planet into shambles before the Philadelphia Flyers win down at 15th place out of the 14 teams remaining in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And that's the bandwagon. I hope you maybe pick a team to root for throughout the season, or the postseason, I should say. And furthermore, we'll be updating those rankings throughout later episodes of The Bubble. We'll be updating our Conn Smythe power rankings as we move along here throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we will be bringing you in-depth analysis, series recaps, game recaps, player stats here on The Bubble Wrap, as we keep a close eye on what's happening in Toronto and Edmonton throughout the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs. You can catch those episodes live, just like this one, on the Penguins social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You know the drill at this point, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nick Hart. I want to thank you so much for tuning into our first episode of Bubble Wrap. We hope to see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Stay posted on those Penguins social media pages. We'll let you know the next time we're going live.